Are you real noob? We're actually gonna skip through. I'm gonna do a little bit of pointing out anything that's obviously a glaring issue, but you're talking about the composition. Also, first off, you're going for a gas pool, which already puts your economy in kind of a weird spot, especially if you don't handle it right. So you're going for the gas pool, which is safe, but you gotta make sure it doesn't get scouted. Well, if it does get scouted, you gotta not get caught by a Reaper. There you go. Okay, you're doing that. But you've got speed on the way. Now, you've already made some huge mistakes. Why are you still mining gas? You have 150 gas. What are you going to do with 150 gas right now? Nothing. You could have 2 or 3 more drones on minerals, which gets you maybe another couple Zerglings. Why not have... You know he's going to make a Reaper. You actually saw the Reaper. Why not at least, like, 2 Zerglings at home? But you have all this gas that you can't use in this mining, and you've already, like... I mean, you might do some damage with the Zerglings, but you've already sacrificed economy to do this in the first place. So not only didn't you defend against the unit that you knew he was going to make and deliberately avoided, but you now have a bunch of useless resources that are going to hurt your economy in the long run. So just to start things off, and you kill the Reaper with drones. That's surprisingly effective. Okay, he walled off. Now what? You got 224 gas. 224 gas. Your economy is worse than his right now. And, I mean, you're making drones. But, alright, he expanded on the high ground. You can't do anything. Well, he didn't necessarily expand at all. You don't know yet. But, just because you're on 2 bases doesn't necessarily give you a better economy. 285 gas. What are we doing with that? And either at some point, it's just going to keep banking up. You've got a queen queued up. Alright, there you go. But you've already, like... You're already in a weird spot in the early game. Like, we haven't even... The game hasn't even started yet, but you put yourself in this weird position. Where now you have... He has an uncomfortable amount of tech. You got your bases late. You don't really have creep spread. You got all this gas that could have been minerals. So... I would just stick with the hatch first instead of trying to do some fancy play like this. Where are those drones going? I have no idea. 350 gas. I mean, we're in Diamond. We're at least going to pretend like that's a mistake. We're going to pretend. Yep, now you're like, well, you know what we need? Is more gas in a lair. Despite only having 26 drones. Okay, you're getting a couple more. Also, you have 1 Overlord on the map that can't see shit. Your second Overlord is apparently... It went out. It decided to stick its neck out. But you have no vision of whether Hellions are coming across. You have... Your Overlords are just chilling at home. SC2Swarm.com. Figure out where to put your Overlords that aren't going to be useless. You already know he's going for Hellions. Why is this Overlord here? It's doing nothing. It's useless. The one thing that you could have to prevent him running by with Hellions... Or just building a bunch of random units and attacking is sitting in the corner in shame for what your build is. And it did... Oh! And the Hellions show up. And now suddenly you have a worse economy than a Terran player who also has mules. So... If only there were some Overlords, maybe... on the edges of your bases in order to see where Hellions or Medivacs are moving. But that sounds crazy.
Our forces are under attack.
A Hydroden, I mean, that's fine. No upgrades yet, but... There you go. 3 evolution chambers. That's, ambitious. You see tanks and marines. Yeah, don't go 3. Okay. You don't got that kind of... Whatever. You know, I appreciate the idea, but... Whatever. Okay, so the strategy is Hydraling Bane. That's what people are doing. It's not just make Hydralisk. It's Hydraling Bane. You're even getting those upgrades. Where's the Baneling nest? There is no Baneling nest. He could just attack, and if you don't have Banelings, the Hydras are just gonna die to Marines. But apparently he's just gonna let you get everywhere with your tech. You're gonna go double spiral. Once again, you still have no vision besides creep spread. I guess we're just gonna let it go here. You don't know if he has a third or a fourth. You shouldn't just be assuming these things. The Baneling nest is incredibly late. I guess he just doesn't want to attack. What are you doing? No, don't, no. I get it. But this is an okay, whatever. You're banking up money, whatever. Okay, another thing. Try using hotkeys that aren't the F2 key. Right now, your only hotkey, you cannot deal with a defensive Terran player by just mashing the F2 key, hoping that you just YOLO out whatever spells you happen to get before your Vipers fly into Marines and turrets. You need to actually use control groups to control your army. I'm assuming, and I already can tell, this is going to be a turtleneck game. And you don't use hotkeys, so you're just going to die repeatedly because you can't micro.
Mutation complete.
You need to at least pretend like you're going to do something other than a move with your entire army. At least pretend. But unfortunately, we both know what's going to happen. You're going to A-move in like, oh my god, turtleneck is so hard to beat. I don't know what to do. When I just A-move with my with the select all army hotkey, I lose all my units. This is fucking crazy.
Complete.
You could hotkey this army and not just have to stare at it with your camera.
Yes, just as I
Thank you,
deserve.
Velocitong.
I just got
Okay,
pulled and they wanted my
The
mommy
thing
card.
is, you might have killed
Now,
that
how
base,
do I
but it
deal with
cost
this
you...
now?
Look at the units, like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to spend 50 Banelings to kill that base? Is it? There's no way to beat Mech Terran, especially when your army is controlled with one hotkey. This is like... You're using a hammer right now. Everything you're doing is hammer. You're just bashing on things like a 2-year-old. Like, no hotkeys, no micro, we're just gonna go into the attacks. You need like a screwdriver or at least some like pliers or a pocket knife or something. There is a requirement of some level of finesse. Because right now you're hammering a fucking concrete wall of Neo steel frame bunkers, tanks, planetaries. You need... Maybe the frontal bash your face against it strategy isn't the ideal one.
Mineral field.
Well, here we go. Good thing the Vipers came in at that key timing and we were microing them separately. Or, looks like you didn't end up using the Vipers at all. If you had used the Vipers, none of the tanks or the planetary or the bunkers would have been able to fire. Like 3 blinding clouds and they're all blind. But you didn't. So you killed another planetary and lost another like 4,000 resources. Yeah. And yeah, those parasitic bombs really gonna deal with the battle. Good thing those Vipers flew into the turrets.
Lesbian guys are exhausted.
Okay. 1, use hotkeys ever. I don't care how much it hurts. Unbind the fucking select all army hotkey, and if you push it, like, resign yourself to several minutes of incessant shame. Because it's not that bad right now, but it doesn't help at all. It's actually harder. Like, the things you're doing, because you're so afraid of fucking up with the select all army hotkey, like I saw in that fight, you're actually box selecting a group of units and not having your Vipers. Like, why not just hotkey 2 different control groups? It's actually more work and more actions to avoid using the select all army hotkey by doing that than to just use control groups. Like, if you use control groups, that gets cut down, and then if you ever want to move your camera again and maybe use different units, you have it right there. But, like, you're putting in more work to do less. You're making it harder to do less things, is what you're doing. And it's painful. Nope. Stop with the Banelings. Banelings don't counter battle cruisers. Corruptor, Broodlord, Infester. Maybe some Vipers. To answer your question, how do I actually beat this? Corruptor, Broodlord, Infester, and then some semblance of Micro without the Select All Army hotkey. Because the Broodlords will push through on the ground, the Corruptors can zone out the battle cruisers and the Vikings, and the Infestors with infested Terrans and Fungals can deal with it. But if you just throw your army and bash it against the wall every time, it's never going to work because that's just how it is.
A creep tumor is under attack. A creep tumor.
No, don't look at 6 bunkers and be like, let's fucking do this, boys. All right, we are past that stage. Just look at the units lost. Infestors. Not Hydras. Hydras will get wrecked. Infested Terrans take ranged attack upgrades, and they're very good. And you actually have a few too many drones. 97 drones is actually a bit high. Oh my god. Like, I'd say 85 to 90 here, because you're not Snoot, and you don't have enough Larva to remax, I bet. No, it's not bad, but those anti-armor missiles are actually really good. Infestors. You've done pretty good on the Larva, but yeah, 97 drones is actually too high. Now, these Banelings, like, Banelings don't counter battle cruisers. No, oh my god. Infestor, Corruptor, Broodlord. And also, no more than 90 drones. Alright, you're at 104, which means your army is always going to be tiny. Like, your army just is never going to be big enough. You're going to throw some more Banelings away into a planetary. In fact, this time it's not even going to kill the planetary. This is all gas you could have put into Infestors. Yeah, the Select All Army hotkey, it's kind of like, right now, it's kind of like watching a 2-finger typer. Back in like the 90s, when not everybody was used to computers, but it's like, well, and I was actually this when I was growing up in the 90s, and I was very young, my parents were both 2-finger typers, or at least whoever was teaching me. Anyways, I was a 2-finger typer, and I was pretty fast at it. And it's like, well, and then at some point in school, they're like, no, you're supposed to use all of your fingers, and it'll be better. And I'm like, no, that's fucking stupid. It's much easier. I just use the 2 fingers. All right, tap, 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 tap. Good to go. And then I actually learned it. It's like, yeah, I'm a fucking idiot. That was a bad idea. Even like 8-year-old me or 9-year-old me could be like, yeah, that was a fucking stupid idea. That's really bad. Stop using the Select All Army hotkey.
This mineral field
If you had like 3 Neurals or 50 infested Terrans there, you win the fight so easy.
mineral field depleted.
And now, If only we hadn't thrown away about 4,500 gas in
Your
banelings.
dedication will be rewarded.
You can't trade 1,500 minerals and 1,000 gas for a planetary fortress 4 or 5 times. And then come out on top, is the summary. And you've done that too many times. As soon as you see planetaries, tanks, and Neosteel frame bunkers with battlecruisers, the baneling phase has ended. Alright?
Mineral field depleted.
It's ended. It's gone. Alright. Much like the typewriter.
Attack. Mineral field depleted.
Thank you, Royal Prospecting, giving the gift of winter to Telegno. Okay, this game is pretty much already over because it's too late. Like, you can't just throw away all the resources you mined from your first 4 bases against a Terran who still has a huge standing army. That's very cost effective. Like, you're just gonna run out of money. Okay? At this point, the game could go on longer, but if he keeps playing like he's playing and you keep playing like you're playing, he's gonna bleed you out. You're gonna run out of money.
Mineral field depleted.
LOL. What did you think was gonna happen? It's like, oh, I got into his main. It's like, aha, the battlecruisers will never catch me here. Yeah, it is a joke that you're playing on him. Oh, he's the joke. His strategy. Ah. Well, that is funny. That is funny you think that. If only there was some way you could not send all your corruptors into the main alongside your Zerglings. Getting Zerglings into the main is a great idea. But unfortunately, the only thing you can ever do with your units is send all of them to the same place. There's no way to stop that. You just can't stop it. I understand. That's just how it is. By the way, let's take a look at this main base again. What a... I feel like at some point you're gonna be like, oh yeah, infestors exist. It's way too late for that, though. Oh, there we go. There it is. There's the realization. What unit haven't I built and thrown away yet? It's far too late for that. When you're not maxed out as a Zerg and you don't have enough gas, like, it's over. He preyed on your this is classic Diamond Zerg here, though.
Mineral field.
Like, pretty good macro. A good idea of how to play the mid game. Pretty shit early game build, but pretty good macro once you get your drone count up. And then just a move, bash your face into a wall, and then complain about your opponent's race. Like, there you go. Classic Diamond. At least the typecasting is working out. His game is already over, though, because you can rebuild more battlecruisers than you can build units. Well, now you almost have the army you need, but the problem is he's banking up more gas. So, like, you're not going to beat this army the first time. It's when you take a good trade and then you fight the second time is when you usually win. But... oh, where did those infestors go? Oh, yeah. They wanted those. Oh, you control group the infestors. We're learning. And somehow you have money again. Now let's try doing that for the army and for the Vipers. No, stop! It's like, I got enough gas, we can make some more banelings. What is your real goal there? You kill a planetary and then what? And then select all army or banelings through the battle cruisers. If there was a different name for the Terran player, I would have thought it might have been one of my games. So, the counter to that, it's not about the counter to that strategy. And, I mean, once he has fucking 21 battlecruisers and 9 Ravens, yeah, things have gone wrong. But the counter is to not just throw all your units away repeatedly, and actually control them. Yeah, I don't think a single Infestor casted a single spell. You built the Infestors, but... So let's unhotkey the Select All Army hotkey. And I use the Select All Army hotkey sometimes, and it's useful for selecting certain types of unit. But this is two-finger typist here. This is hotkey abuse. It's painful.